Hi there, and welcome to my first how-to episode. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to mine using Emashers mod, the engineering toolbox. So it's very simple. This is all the stuff here. Now it looks really confusing. There's a load of stuff, lots of things, and there's also the resources as well. But we'll get to that in a minute. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get yourselves the modular sockets. These make up everything to do with this mod. They can be used to build all sorts of machines and are really kind of pretty cool. So to make these, you need a chest, a machine chassis, which can be made in a variety of different ways. So it's some sort of metal, tin or aluminium, or iron even, with either copper or gold nuggets, and that will give you two. You also so that will give you enough for two modular sockets. You'll also need some control circuits. Again, these can be made in a couple of different ways. You can have gold nuggets over with redstone, which will give you two, or copper over redstone, which will also give you two. You can also use the Buildcraft assembly table to create these, which will give you four for a lot less resources. So that might be something to do if you do have a assembly table set up. And the last thing you need is a PSU. The PSU can be also created in a different way. Again, copper or gold with redstone surrounded by lead or nether quartz, which is weird, and all of those will give you two as well. So that will give you a single modular socket. But again, you can probably get enough resources to build two of these from just a couple. So we'll take these. These are the basics of engineering toolbox, or engineer's toolbox even. So what's next then? Well, next you're going to need yourself some blank modules. These allow you to build any of these things. You'll need at least one to build them. And how do you build these? You need three different colors of dye. You need red, green and blue. These correspond to the different internal tanks, which we'll get to in a minute. You'll need glass. You'll need another machine chassis, which we've gone through, and some glowstone. So you'll probably need to have gone to the nether to get these. So that's, oh, we won't need those. And then finally, what you want to do is get yourself a socket remote. This will allow you to configure the machines that you build. You need the blank module that we just built. We need a control circuit as well, which I showed you, and just an ender pearl. Not really sure why you need an ender pearl. Maybe because it's remote. I'm not sure. But anyway, so we'll take one of those as well, because these are very important. Now, there's a couple of different modes, and you can see the modes by hovering over it. So it's in tank select mode, which is blue. You can shift and right click to change it. Inventory is green. Red is redstone circuit select. I will get into the redstone in a different episode. We don't need to go through them for what we're doing here. The third is redstone latch settings again. The fourth is generic mode, which if a face only has one thing, it normally does it. Then we have module lock, which turns a module on and off, I believe. Cascade removal tool, and back to tank select. So let's get started. So the machine in question to use to mine with is called a hosier. And you can see it sprays highly pressurized fluid into the ground to extract resources. So it uses RF, you can see. It outputs to a machine output, and it requires a fluid tank. So we need a machine output anyway. So let's get these two. So we also need, so the machine output receives items and fluid output from certain machines and places it in selected input or tanks. Outputs items and fluids into adjacent tanks in inventory, as well as injecting items into the world when configured to do so. and only one can be installed per socket, and this one has to go on the bottom slot only. So we're going to need some power as well, so you can craft these solar panels which generate 5 RF per tick, which is fine if you want something to run itself. There's a couple of other energy things, so you can have this one, which if you have some cows or sheep or anything, it will actually allow you to generate 80 RF per second, per 0.5 seconds around. So for each time a cow steps on it or any other entity, which is kind of cool, but it does have a chance of damaging the entity. You can also put it in a river, which generates 10 RF per tick, and this only works in a river biome though, so it might work. Or you can just input the power directly into it using RF. So let's get this going. So I'm going to take the rest of these. I'll go through what these are in a minute, but let's go make ourselves a mining machine. So I'm just going to pop this up here for a moment, because I'll need to get under it to be able to configure it properly. I'll just set it to done. So you can see that this has 6 faces, and each face is able to take a module just like this. And there you are. Now you'll notice this little blue tab here. Every time you use the blue with the blue, so tank select mode, you could see a little, it kind of moves along there. If you have Walla installed, which is what I have up the top there, you can actually see that it says down, husher, 0. So it has 3 internal liquid tanks, and this is going to be pulling from tank 0, and if I can change it there to tank 1 or tank 2. But if you don't have Walla installed, you can see that it's no tank, tank 0, tank 1, tank 2. Very easy. So we'll leave that on tank 1. Now you can pick these up with the modules already installed by shift right clicking with a crescent hammer or a wrench. There's a wrench that comes with the engineering toolbox, so that's what I'm using at the moment, and that will keep all the settings you have. So at the moment, now this is down there now. So what else do we need? Well, we need to give it some power. So let's put a solar panel on top. Simple enough, and you can see in Walla that it's the power is increasing there, so it's good to go. So it's filling up its internal storage with 5000 RF, which is cool. Now we'll also need a machine output. The machine output will take from inside. So you need to set an internal storage inventory for it. So that's the green one. Remember, inventory select, and you can see the same things happening there. These things can also output fluids, so that's why it has a blue one as well. So we're going to put a chest beside this so that it can output into the chest, because otherwise it's not going to do any good. Now this should be working. These machines don't need to be turned on or have anything. You can set them to be able to be turned on, but this is not. So what are we missing? Well, if you remember what the husher said, if I can find it here. There it is. It sprays highly pressurized fluid. So you need to put fluid in. So let's get ourselves a fluid intake. Now fluid intake we'll need to set to the same internal liquid tank. So 0, I've set it up because the husher is taking from 0. And now we'll need to pump liquid into it. So I had some fluid ducts here and some creative portable tank, but you can use an infinite source with an aqueous accumulator, or I'll show you another way of getting liquids in a minute, or just any sort of way of getting liquids. So let's set this to out and this to output, and of course we will need a lever because well, will we? Sorry. No, there we go. So there we go, and you can see that this thing is mining away there. So this, without anything else, will mine anything softer than, let me just check this to make sure that I'm saying it right. So with water and nothing else, this actually doesn't need power either. This will mine anything softer than stone. So you can see it will mine dirt and it will mine sand. Cool, but yeah, okay, that's good and everything, but and it will only mine, yeah, so it will mine only sand and dirt, which isn't great because, well, look, we only get down to here. That's not great. That's it. So sand, I thought it would mine sand as well, but that's weird. So how do we get it to mine anything? Well, it's quite simple. We need a pressurizer, and a pressurizer increases tank capacity firstly, but it also, using the power, you actually, the hosier on its own doesn't even use power, but this means that it will mine everything down as far as Y level 32. So you can see it's mining away here, it's going down, amazing. And you can see the range of this thing is, the other thing is, yep, the range of this is 3 by 3. But we can extend the range using this range selector. So if I put this range selector on here, get my remote, I want to switch it to generic mode. You can see this is increasing there. This is now drawing quite a bit of power, so the internal, the RF thing on the top, you can see it's starting to pull everything out here now. So I've set it to 1, 2, 3, so 3, 4, 5 by 5 now. So you can see it's mining away there. It's pulling everything in, anything that I can find. And away it goes. So this is quite slow really, if you can see. What I want to do is just make myself a bridge here because it's gonna start mining everything. A good thing to do is actually to put this one into the ground. So if you put it, if you cut a hole in the ground and just put it in there, you might have to do a bit. It will only mine underneath the block, anything underneath the block. So you can put that in and we'll mine away there. So that's mining there, but it's going quite slow. So let's change something. Let's get a energy cell. I'm using a creative one just for this demonstration, and an energy input, which it accepts redstone flux basically. So how do we remove? So we want to remove this solar panel because there's no need to have it because we're going to put energy straight in. We can just right click with the engineering wrench and pop, it just comes straight off. So let's put this RF input on instead and put this creative power supply on and switch it so, oh, it was already out. So there we go. That should, yeah, so that's keeping a constant supply now, so it should actually go a bit faster. And there we go. So it's pumping out stuff there. We can extend the range again if we want. It should start pumping. Yeah, look at it go. And we can put it to max range. And we'll just start destroying the landscape here. So there we go. So this will mine all the way down to Y level 32. So that's great and all, but how about diamonds? What are we going to do? Well, here's what we're going to do. we can actually create another liquid to go in here instead of water. And that will basically mean that we will be able to mine the diamonds and anything else all the way down to bedrock. So how do we do that? Well, we have to get another machine. So I'm going to just, because this is destroying the landscape, I'm going to switch this back to the lowest mode and just fill in some of these gaps so I can actually walk up to the... And this is actually going to mine this out again because I put it too close. But anyway, so we need to now make something that we can use instead of water that is able to mine all the way down to bedrock. So what do we do? Well, let's go over here. So here we have a mixer. Simply mixes items and fluids. That sounds good. If we mix sand with water, we will get slack water or slick water. This slick water can be used in the hosier, and this hosier will basically allow it to, using in the hosier will allow it to mine everything. Basically, it can mine everything if you use the pressurizer as well. It will mine everything softer than obsidian without the pressurizer, but we'll just use it with the pressurizer because we have it set up. So we need an item input to take the sand in. We need a machine output to get the slick water out, and we need some water in. In this case, I'm going to use these water input things. So this collects water from adjacent water sources without destroying it and inputs it into the slack tank. And it only works if there's two of them in adjacent water on the same socket configured to use the same tank. And then it needs some power as well, so we'll have it getting some power. So I need some item ducts, I'll need a lever to pull out stuff, and I'll need somewhere to put it. So let's set this up. Again, I'm gonna set this up here so that I can get under it. And we need... So there's the socket. So we will put, just because I need to use the other spaces, this can go anywhere, but I need the side ones to output and input, and the top one for solar power. So we'll put this on the bottom, and we will configure it to use, sorry, so it needs an input liquid, which we'll just put to 0. It needs an input items, which we'll put to 0 as well. And that's all we need, so I'll just put this down further now. So now I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to knock out these blocks so the water is there. So I need to put these water intakes here and here and configure them on the same tank as the mixer, so they put them into the tank that the mixer is using. So 0 and 0. And then I also need an item input, which I'm just going to put here, and this needs to be configured to use the inventory that the mixer is going to be using, which is also 0. And then I need a machine output, and I need to just set the machine output to have, because it's outputting liquid, I need it to store the liquid as a buffer, and I'll use it in 1 because we can't use 0 because that is going to have water. And then just put some power on top. So there's my mixer, and I can pick this up and put it into the here, knock out this and this, and it should be inputting water, and it should into tank 0 inside, and it's already charging up. So let's get some sand. So I have sand in this chest here, and let's just set this to an output and put a lever beside it so that it starts outputting sand. So there you go, it's outputting sand now. The sand is going in, and you can see that the power is going down. So let's output this stuff then into, and you can see fluid slick water. And we can just put that in there and it's filling up. This actually creates it quite fast, you can see. So you can actually get quite a good bit of liquid from this fairly quickly. So now what are we going to do here? I'm going to switch to creative just for a second. So that I don't die when I go down here. But you can see I'm going all the way down here, and we can see that it's mining fine. It's just doing a 1 by 1, and we're down at level 32. So it stopped at 32. And we'll get back up. And you'll see that it's only doing 1 by 1 because this is set up here. But we can make it 3 by 3 again. There we go. So let's get our slack water. Slick water. Whatever it's called. That will do for now. So let's take that. And then let's just, because it's easier to show it this way, we'll just put this down to 1 by 1 again. So let's take off this tank of water. It should suck the rest of that in, and let's put this one on instead and switch it to output. And let's just take this pipe off because it's probably messing up stuff. There we go. So it's now pumping slick water in instead. And we can go down, right down, right down. And this should, but isn't. It might actually, there's probably some fluid still in the tank. So what we want to do is switch this to use a different tank is probably the best idea. So if we switch this to a different tank, so because it's probably got water in it. So if we switch it to 1 and if we switch this to kind of tricky to do because the water is here. Hang on, let me just check. Oh, I did get it. Oh, that's just gotten messy. So I'll hit this twice. Oh well, it's, oh no. So I picked it up. Hang on, we'll just move it over here and do it over here because it's a pain in the ass to do in there. So let's, so we have the input set to 1, so we'll set that to 2, pick it up again. Yeah, and you can actually see the list of what's on it here, and then we'll put it back over here. It's like this, and then that should be going. Except it's not, because for some reason this didn't set. There we go. Oh, and there's no slack water left. What? And then look, okay. Let's just get some. More slack water. Oh, it does have some in. I don't know why it wasn't showing up there. That was weird. So there we go. Now it should be mining past 32. And it is. All the way down to bedrock. There you go, bedrock. So there you have it. So that again is, you can mine anything softer than stone. So pretty much just dirt without any power and just water. You can mine all blocks and that will use, it uses quite a bit of energy, and just using water, and that will mine everything down as far as 32 Y32, and that's just with water. So if you're just using water, that's fine. You can go all the way down to 32, and as long as there's no obsidian, then it will mine it. If you use slack water or slick water, it will mine any block softer than obsidian, and that will mine all the way to bedrock. So you don't even need power with this slick water. If you want to mine obsidian, then yes, put the pressurizer in as well. So that's pretty cool. And there you have it. How to mine using Emashers resources, or Emashers mod, and the engineering toolbox. And you can see there, when you're using slick water, it will replace it. So technically you could go ahead and pick it up with a bucket afterwards, after it's done, and reuse the stuff. So you can pick it up afterwards. Because I'm in creative, it didn't pick it up, but yeah, there you go. So thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and please subscribe.